Hello and welcome to a live video on the Managing Madrid Facebook page. This is your host, Kiyan Sobani. This will also be going up on YouTube. So if you're watching there, welcome to you as well. It is a pre-Copa del Rey Q&A, and I'm just here to answer your questions, to interact with you guys outside of the halftime show window, which is always a bit rushed. I have like 10 minutes tops. By the time I leave the first half, I get my notes together and I go back to the second half. There's just only so much time I have to interact with you guys. I basically just spend the entire time sharing my notes. So I'm here to just answer any questions you guys have. Predominantly we'll probably talk about the Copa del Rey and the lineup going into that game and what we might expect to see. Obviously, this is a game where Real Madrid has already gone through the motions and have, almost 2 feet through the door to the next round. Excited to see Gareth Bale back. This is probably a good game to just get his match fitness back. I know there's a lot of jokes out there. I think we posted a picture of him in training yesterday on the Managing Madrid Facebook page, and everyone was like making jokes about it. And they thought, wow, it's such a rare sight, and we'll probably see him for one game. Alas, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Shout out to all of you who are not working right now, and it's a work day. It's a Tuesday morning, and you're just grinding it out with me here, and this is your life. Shout out to all you guys. Okay, so let's go through the comments. Adriel Lavia, what's up, brother? Nice to see you here. Wael El Marabi, sorry if I mispronounced that. He says, what do you think about Bale's return? Happy to see him back. I think, my stance on Bale is pretty known by now. I'm a huge fan of his playing style. I think what he brings to the table is very unique as a footballer. His pace, his ability to shoot from distance. When we see him in true peak beast form, it's an amazing sight, and it's not something we get to see in any other player. He has such unique traits. Obviously, the frustrating thing is with him that he gets into a rhythm. He gets injured for a long time. The injury turns into a longer-term injury, and then by the time he comes back, gets into form, it takes time, and it's a cycle that keeps repeating itself, rinse and repeat. And that's frustrating, but you just hope that he can get over the hump. I've talked about this so much, I just feel kind of silly answering this question. I'm a bit under the weather, by the way. That's why I have this gigantic tea. For those of you who don't know about oregano oil, get in on this hype train of the oregano oil. It tastes like ass. Not that I know what that tastes like, but it tastes really gross, and it works. It works really well. So I'm going to take a sip of that. Sorry. A lot of questions about Ceballos and Kovacic. Kovacic is making his return. He was back in training, and I don't think we'll see him today against Fuenlabrada, but we'll see him probably maybe against Bilbao. He should be back 100% by then. Ceballos, a lot of questions about Ceballos. Interesting stat, Real Madrid has won every game that Ceballos is featured in. I think it's 10 out of 10. Obviously, it's a very small sample size, but we know what we get with Dani Ceballos. It's very clear. We get incisiveness, we get vision, we get creativity, we get defensive work ethic. We get a player you go to war with, and we get a proven player. So when anyone asks me why aren't we seeing Ceballos, guess what? Your guess is as good as mine, because I don't know what goes through Zidane's brain. We saw Asensio go through the same kind of tough love. We saw Kovacic go through the same kind of tough love, where it was obvious that they were talented enough to play regularly, but they just weren't. I think the difference with Asensio last season, though, is that he had to leapfrog Isco, we had to leapfrog James. We had a relatively healthy Bale. We had an informed Benzema, informed Ronaldo. We had Lucas Vazquez playing well, so he had to jump over a lot of guys. With Ceballos this season, he doesn't have that in front of him, so I'm kind of surprised about it, because Modric and Kroos have been in and out of form. Modric has been resting more this season with his age. Kovacic has been injured, so Ceballos hadn't had to really leapfrog many people, so you'd think it'd be obvious that he'd play. So, again, your guess is as good as mine. I hope we will see him integrated more and more as his career progresses, because he's clearly just a huge future of both Spanish and Real Madrid football. Okay, comments are flooding in. Adriel is asking about winter acquisitions. To be clear, I don't like answering transfer rumors only because that's like all I get asked like every day on multiple platforms, podcasts, Facebook, Twitter. And it's like I can only say the same thing so many times, but I would say that I think the most realistic option this winter is probably still going to be Kepa. Mostly because his contract runs at the end of the year. Bilbao really don't want to lose him for nothing. And also because, he's going to be cheaper to buy, given his contract situation. I understand Ozil and Alexis Sanchez are in the same boat. Ozil clearly is not going to come back. Alexis would be an interesting buy. I don't see it. I think Arsenal would be crazy to let go of either of them in the winter transfer market. One, because whatever you're going to get from them is actually not going to outweigh the benefits of keeping them and the money you'll receive from getting into Champions League football next season. So you need both of them. Even if you're going to lose them both for free, it still makes sense to keep them both to help you get into the Champions League next season. So for that reason, Arsenal, I don't think are going to budge from this. Rumors about Mauro Icardi, and I don't pick up on transfer rumors because I just don't believe any of them, but Jose Luis Sanchez is one of the more reliable journalists, and he tweeted about Real Madrid really having Icardi on their radar, which is interesting. I wasn't on the Last Managing Madrid podcast due to some personal reasons, but I understand that and Gabe talked about Icardi. I'm personally a huge Icardi fan. I think the point that and Gabe made on the podcast was that if you're looking to replace someone like Benzema, who does a lot more than score, do you want someone more mobile, like someone in the mold of an Mbappe, or someone in the mold of even like a Timo Werner who drops deep and does so much defensive work? Icardi is more of a pure 9. Having said that, I think he would still work with Icardi. To be honest, I'm a huge fan, but again, we'll see. Reinal Jukuna, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce his name. Just let me know right now if I'm butchering your name. No Ramos, Varane, or Vallejo today. How would you like Zidane to set up the defense today? I think it's kind of pretty straightforward. I think we'll also see some Castilla players. I think we'll see Tejero. I think we'll see Hakimi play in this game. We'll probably see Teo. We might see Nacho just because you have to fill in the gaps. I think, there was reports that Luis Quesada might play, which is interesting, and he might play as a left winger with Teo behind him. Quesada is a traditional left back for Castilla, and he is someone that he's another project of Solari's that has been kind of reinvented in Solari's mind, and he's been pushed up as a left wing, which is interesting because it's kind of gone hand in hand with Castilla's good form of late, where Quesada is pushed up to the left wing and Reguilón is the Castilla left back. And if you don't know much about Quesada, you should know that he has a killer left foot. He can hit free kicks. He has an amazing cross on him. He can shoot from distance. He can dribble, and he's a strong defensive presence. So I think it'll be interesting to see him and Teo together, but again, it's interesting duo because both of them kind of bring the same things to the table. They're both crossers. They both have pace on the left wing, and they just kind of play the same way. I'll be interested to see that. There are also rumors that Bale will start this game, which makes sense given I think Zidane has also mentioned this in press conferences that he's kind of just sick of seeing Bale kind of ease into things and missing so much time on top of it. So I think the leash and the patience is running a little thin, and Zidane just wants to get him out there as soon as possible, which is understandable at this point. Dhruv Kaushik says, when should we bring Odegaard back? My guess is 2 seasons. This season, they really, really made the wise choice of getting him out of Castilla, getting him out of Solari's hands. And he's been very good with Heerenveen, slinging through balls from deep, dribbling mazy runs through 5 players, amazing through passes, some great shots, some great dribbling. His also, to go hand in hand with his talent is his football IQ is very good. I wrote about him in my column last week. I'll probably write a blurb about him this week too. He's playing out of his mind, and the Dutch league just can't stop him, and it's really fun to watch. I would like to see him get another stepping stone closer to home, get him in La Liga, get him. I don't know what the equivalent would be next season. If you gave him a Marcos Llorente situation with Alaves that year, last season. Next season, maybe that team is someone I don't know, who knows, Eibar, Malaga, Espanyol. I don't know who that team is next season, because even the mid-table, the lower teams, they completely get rehauled and revamped every season, so it's hard to know what the roster will be. But get him closer to home, get into like mid-table La Liga team, maybe even less than mid-table if you need to. That's fine. Just get him some playing time. 2 years from now, I think it's realistic you bring him back. Everyone keeps talking about long-term solutions, and Asensio and Mbappe maybe still making a return to the transfer rumors, and Neymar. Let's not forget about Odegaard. I know it's like very premature to say, but he's looking really good. He looks really exciting. So, Drew, my guess is 2 seasons. What else do we got here? Usama Arshad says, yo, why Cruz isn't that much praise for the caliber and quality he has? Why Teo is getting too much playing time? He isn't that much good. Play someone else instead. Well, Teo and Cruz are completely unrelated. They're completely separate positions. I don't know what circles you ride in, Usama, but if you're a Managing Madrid reader, you'd know that Kroos is rated very highly in Managing Madrid circles. I wrote about him in my column just last week, just praising his verticality, his ability to move without the ball and get us out of a press. All those things have been very important. I don't think he's been the Kroos of last season yet. I think he still hasn't, hit top Kroos form. But certainly, like, in terms of why isn't he praised, if you read Managing Madrid, I think people will actually say he's overpraised on our website. Is Teo really getting that much playing time? I don't think he is. I think he should actually get more, but I think he should get more at the left back. I don't see this obsession with shoehorning him as a left winger and turning him into a Gareth Bale. I think I understand the similarities in terms of their playing style, their physicality, their pace, their strength, but I don't think should be an obsession with forcing him to be Gareth Bale. I think Teo is still better from deep. Chrisan Joseph says, Kian, it seems Llorente is our third choice defensive midfielder. Is that true? Yeah, by the way, that was kind of one of the reasons why I was a couple minutes late to this live video, was because someone tweeted my way and said they can't understand why I'm obsessed with Llorente, because he's not that good. So I just spent like 30 seconds maybe tweeting him, and I have a bunch of notifications I have to go check later and see if there's a response about it. But I think his point was that he's going to be another Iyaramendi and not another Alonso or a Casemiro. First of all, he's completely different than all three of those players. He's not an Iyaramendi. He's not a Casemiro. He's not Xabi Alonso. His playing style is more similar to Sergio Busquets. And I think at some point I'll write an article about this comparison. I'm going to save it for a time where he starts playing more. Maybe that's toward the end of the season. Maybe that's halfway through the season. Maybe that's next season. I'm not sure. But if you watch him with Alaves, that was his strength. You can't expect him to be a Casemiro who just bulldozes players and makes runs into the box and shoots from distance. That's not his game. He is a reader of the game. He's an intelligent player, an intelligent shield in the back line. He distributes well. He plays nice short passes. He's comfortable on the ball. And I gotta say, like, a lot of fans are short-sighted, and I'm sorry to say this, and I'm sorry if any of you take offense to this, but I don't think anyone in this tuning into this live video necessarily thinks this way, but a lot of fans fail to look at football holistically. I saw a comment on one of my articles. I rarely check comments on my articles because I just look at them and I'm like, my God, what are these people truly analyzing? Because one of the comments was from the game against Malaga, Vallejo is not Real Madrid quality. He's a lower mid-table La Liga team. Bring in and then he put a list of a bunch of players that are never going to come here that we should sign. You can't just analyze things just based on one play, one game. You look at the Bundesliga and you look at what Vallejo did over the course of the season, one of the best defenders in that league, to the point where he got injured for a chunk of the season and Frankfurt's defense just fell off a cliff. They started conceding goals. They started dropping in the table. That's how important he was to that scheme. His distribution is good. He's so comfortable on the ball. He doesn't get unnerved in the press. And a lot of fans blamed him for the first goal conceded against Malaga, and the second goal for that matter, which is completely unfair. The first goal was a Kroos giveaway, and by the time everyone is trying to react to the giveaway, they're all out of position, so they're scrambling to get back into position. And Vallejo has two players to close down the cross. He has to guess which one the ball goes to. He's late to get to Roland, but he also did well to close down given the circumstances. completely unfair. And the second one, the whole defensive shape was out of whack. And I think a lot of that has to stem with Isco, for example, being so free in his roaming, because his roaming is completely unpredictable, which can be good offensively, but it can also hinder the team. It can also throw the players off defensively, because they never know at any given point where Isco is on the pitch. So they have to kind of scramble and guess where they need to be defensively. And I think a lot of that criticism towards Vallejo was unfair for that reason. What was the question again? Something about Vallejo? There was no question about Vallejo. I just started talking about Vallejo for some reason. Just to compare him to the Llorente criticism. Oh, the question from Chrisan was about Llorente being the third choice defensive midfielder. Is that true? It kind of is in many ways, and in some ways he's even the fourth choice defensive midfielder. Because Kroos can play there if needed, and you can shield him by packing the midfield and mask him if you need to. Because you have Casemiro, you have Kroos, you have Kovacic, then you have Marcos Llorente. So I think Marcos Llorente will be very much utilized in terms of injuries, games against quote-unquote inferior opponents, lower table teams, Copa del Rey games. And I personally, if you're asking me, Chrisan, whether he deserves to be in that pecking order, I think he can play as a starter in La Liga. I think he's proven it. I think to me, he's a second choice. He should be second choice. And I think he eventually will be first choice, because he's... By the way, can you guys hear me okay? I think you are, but I'm going to try to speak in a better spot in the microphone. Let's see what we got. A lot of comments. It sounds a bit fuzzy to me, that's why. Is that better? I think that might be better. I don't know. Prab Singh says, what's your prediction for the match today, and will Bale score? I'm going to say, I don't know. I don't think we're going to blow them out of the water or anything. I don't think it's going to be like 8-0 or anything like that. Maybe a 3-0, 4-0. I think if Bale plays, he'll probably score, which will be good for him. A lot of questions here. By the way, I will just quickly mention while I'm going through these questions, I had a chance to watch Castilla play against Fuenlabrada, which is weird because Fuenlabrada is playing Real Madrid today. They just played against Castilla 2 days ago. It was Saturday, so 3 days ago. And Castilla held them to a goalless game. It was 0-0. And Castilla, trust me, they don't have many things to cheer about this year. I think you have some things that are exciting, like Franchu is playing really well. Danny Gomez, even though he's coming off the bench now, was a fighter. He's a really fun player to watch. He has that like cliche saying of Maridissimo on his sleeve. He really cares. He plays well. He can finish. I think Quesada is starting to look like himself again. But I think the main bright spot with Castilla this season, in a season where not much is going right, is the defense. The defense has been good. Manu Hernando has been good. Who is it? The guy who looks older. I think it's Sam Sharp. If you're on this video now, give me a hand. I think it's Jose Sanchez. Tejero's been good. Regulion's been good. I think defensively they've been good. And they held Fuenlabrada, who have scored in every single game this season in Segunda B in that division. That was the first game they couldn't score, and it was against Castilla. So Real Madrid will obviously be pretty comfortable in this game. I don't know. I expect something like 3-0, 4-0. I'm going to take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to get back to the grind. So, Arafat says, hello Arafat. Thanks for tuning in from Indonesia. That's amazing. Chibu Musanda says, I expect the team win tonight. I think neither of us have doubts about that, Chibui. And one more. I'm going to scroll up to see, because I probably missed a bunch at the beginning of the video. Parwinder Singh, this is an interesting question. I think this kind of encapsulates a lot of the questions that have been coming in, not only during this video, but throughout the season. Parwinder says, why are Real Madrid lacking the fire, determination, and confidence of last season? This is a lot of things into one. So if you've been reading my columns, you've seen why one of the main sources is just mental miscues. So it's interesting to see like the contrast in the way Real Madrid lost against Real Betis and the way they lost against Girona. The way they lost against Real Betis, Betis played very defensively. Quique Setien put them into a shell, and they were very, very picky about when they went forward. And the way they got their goal was at the end when Real Madrid really threw everything they had forward because they didn't want the draw, they wanted the win, and that just really bit them. They got a bit lucky along the way. Real Madrid missed a lot of chances. Their expected goals were very high in that game. And then they lost it in the end because they pushed everyone forward. The way they lost against Girona was completely flipped. If you look at Pablo Machin's scheme in that game, like it's like he didn't take anything away from Setien's win, and he was like, I'm going to do this my way. I think he saw earlier in the season that Real Madrid struggled dealing with presses, so he's like, I'm going to take that and I'm going to take it to another level. So he exposed a lot of space in behind his midfield, and he pushed everybody high, and he just pressed high. And you look at the giveaways in that game, and my God, it was crazy. Isco, Marcelo, Varane, Ramos, Casemiro, all of these guys were misplacing passes. And you just go down and list the season, Kroos, Modric, all of these elite players just misplacing passes, not only because of the press, but also even in unforced situations. Like if you look at Applewell, I'm going to note in my column, and I've noted this last week in my column, there was a span of 9 very clear misplaced passes without any pressure on them against Applewell before the 20-minute mark hit. A better team punishes us. Against Atletico, it was the same. There was a lot of giveaways. Atletico's counterattack hasn't been the same, and it's been getting worse year after year. They would have punished us. And if you do that against PSG, against Bayern, against City, there's a lot of vulnerability to be punished. So I think it was Parwindar who asked this question. The comment's just gone now. I don't know where it went. But one of the reasons I think is these unforced giveaways, uncharacteristic mental miscues from players who normally are at their A game, at a top level, at an elite level, are giving the ball away in situations where it's really hurt the team. The other has obviously been finishing. And the other big one for me has also been a high degree of predictability. You know, we often talk about crosses, and there's 2 ways of looking at it. One is like you think Real Madrid are forcing these crosses, which is not always the case, because you do see penetration down the middle that creates really good chances that Real Madrid just haven't converted. You know, like Kroos has a lot of interchanges and 1-2s down vertical, central, channels. Isco as well, and Ronaldo has done a lot through the middle, and so it's not like they're not doing it. They do it, but at the same time, Real Madrid, last time I checked, averaged 27 crosses a game, which if you don't know if that's a high number or a low number, just know this: it's the most in Europe, not even La Liga, Europe. Not to say it's good or bad, but if you contrast it with Barcelona, they average 11 crosses a game. And I think one of the issues is not the decision to cross itself. One of the issues is that the crosses haven't been good. So it's not like we're talking about Real Madrid cross and it's predictable and defenders can easily set up and pick those off because they know the cross is coming. They can pack the box. They can pack the flanks. They can close not only the crossing lanes, but they can also be in a position where they can clear the cross because they know it's coming. It's predictable. It's not only that it's been predictable, it's that the level of crossing has been bad. So I think one of the most extreme examples was against Tottenham away, even Tottenham at home actually. Isco and Marcelo were putting cross after cross, just completely lacking in quality. And Parwindar, I know you're asking like what are the problems this season? Those misplaced crosses and easily cleared crosses lead to another domino effect, because it takes one pass to get past Real Madrid's defense. And against Tottenham, you saw it wasn't just a cross. It was a bad corner, and every Real Madrid player is in a position where they're backpedaling, And after they hit that bad corner, their defense can just sling back with one really good through ball and they're on the break. And Real Madrid has, this season, they've relied on Varane, and Casemiro was another one they've relied on to snuff out those attacks last second. And that's not a sustainable approach. Yes, Varane is amazing at doing. Vallejo is another one who saved their asses a lot. Varane, Vallejo, Casemiro, these three, Ramos on some occasions, although he's been kind of iffy, have been really good in putting in last second challenges, and they're very good at this. But you can't rely on that. You need a more pragmatic coverage scheme. You can't have everyone push forward. You can't have chaos. You can't have offensive chaos. Last season, I wrote about the offensive chaos in the Super Cup, and last season, towards the end of the season, was very good. You can have chaos in a good way, where it's interchangeable. The defenders are always guessing. And then you have bad chaos, which is completely unpragmatic. It's 10 players in the box, 2 players crossing, and an exposed defensive line in transition. So I'm sorry if I went off on this, but this is a subject which requires a very holistic approach. It is a subject that, when you're asking why is Real Madrid struggling this season, it's one domino leads to 2, 3, 4, and it just screws the team up in so many ways, mentally, tactically, and that part is on Zidane. I think Zidane has done a lot of good things here. I think tactically he's better than what a lot of people give him credit for. But this season, a lot of the things the team has struggled with is on Zidane. And I think I'll leave it there. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope that you found this helpful and fruitful, and I hope that you enjoy this discussion. If you're tuned in late to this, you can go back and watch it, but this is also going to be on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it there as well. On my YouTube channel, if you search Kiyan Sobhani, I think you can just look at my YouTube channel. I've just started it. There's not much content there. There's podcasts, there's a couple live videos. I will be in Madrid most of December, so I will be there for managing Madrid as press, covering Sevilla, El Clasico, couple Castilla games. Might try to sneak into Butarque for a Leganés Real Madrid game. Catch that Butarque sunset, which I've been dying to see. It's on my bucket list. I don't know if we'll get it because Butarque's press area is a bit limited and it's not as big as the Bernabeu, so they're very selective about who they let in. Training, I'll be a couple Castilla games. So like my page, Kiyan Sobhani, I will be doing live YouTube stuff from there too. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I think that's all I got. So enjoy the game, guys. I'm going to go back on Twitter now too. So if you haven't followed me there, at Kiyan So. I think some people are arguing with me about Marcos Llorente. I might go and take a jab there. So as always, guys, it's a pleasure interacting with you guys. Next time you'll see me on this live video is actually today. I'll be on halftime against Fuenlabrada, I think. So catch me there. Oh, and if you want to know more about Fuenlabrada and their reaction to playing against Real Madrid, go listen to the podcast I did with Sid Lowe, who is obviously, I'm sure you've heard of him. He's an unparalleled journalist covering Spanish football. Him and I did a podcast to preview the first leg, and it's still relevant. It's really interesting. So just Google like Kiyan Sobhani Sid Lowe or something, and I'm sure it'll come up. Or just go on the iTunes Managing Madrid podcast feed, and you'll see it there. Another plug. On Monday, Diego Lorin and I did a Churros y Tácticas podcast, which you all should subscribe to on iTunes, SoundCloud. We're also on YouTube. We talked about the Gong Show game at the Mestalla, Barcelona, Valencia. We broke it down to its core. We talked about La Liga in its entirety. So go check that out. Okay, Kiyan Sobhani signing off. Enjoy the game. See you at halftime. And Hala Madrid.